Hey everyone, and welcome. So, if you've ever started tinkering with Python graphics, you know that awesome feeling of drawing your first shapes. But what's next? Today, we're going to close the gap between just putting shapes on a screen and making them, well, come alive. Let's get into it. You know the drill. You write up your code, you hit run, and poof, there it is, your very own creation. A circle, maybe a star, a couple of lines. It's an amazing start. But they kind of just sit there, don't they? They're totally static. You can look at them, but you can't actually do anything with them. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. It's basically step one for all of us. But what if you could click the mouse and make that circle get bigger? Or make that star sprout more points? What if you could actually bring it all to life? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out how to do today. The secret, the real key here, is a powerful little idea called shape-specific properties. Seriously, this is what turns your flat, boring drawing into something dynamic and interactive. You can think of these as like a hidden control panel for every shape you make. So what are they, really? Well, think of it like this. Every shape has a bunch of controls, but some of them are these special dials and sliders that only that kind of shape gets. A circle has its own special dials, and a star has a completely different set. And mastering these is what gives you some truly awesome creative power. Okay, so it's really important to get this one thing straight. You're probably already used to general properties, right? Things like fill color or opacity. Pretty much any shape you can make has those. But what we're talking about are these specific ones. A circle has a radius, but a line doesn't. A star has points, but a circle doesn't. These unique features, that's where the magic is. All right, enough theory, let's get our hands dirty. We're going to start with some of the most common shapes you'll use all the time: circles, polygons, and stars. Let's see what kind of unique powers they're hiding under the hood. And you can see it right here. Just look at how each shape has its own special toolkit. A circle, it just has a radius. A regular polygon has a radius too, but it adds points. And then the star gets even fancier with radius, points, and a little something called roundness. Each one gives you a totally different kind of control. So how do we actually use these? This is the fun part. You can tie a property to something the user does, like pressing the mouse. With every single click, you can tell the program, hey, whatever the circle's radius is right now, add 20 to it. Or take the polygon's points and just add 1. You can literally watch a triangle turn into a square, then a pentagon right before your eyes. Okay, let's go back to that special property for the star. Roundness. It basically controls how sharp or how curved the inner corners of the star are. So here's a quick pop quiz for you. What do you think happens if you set a star's roundness all the way down to 0? If you guessed that it gets super spiky, you are absolutely right. When roundness is 0, all that curve is just gone and the star looks like it's made of these sharp, pointy lines. Just by changing one number, you get a totally different style. That is the kind of power we're talking about. Okay, so geometric shapes are awesome, but what about the other stuff we use all the time, like lines and text? Well, guess what? They have their own unique properties too, which adds even more tools to our creative kit. Check these out. For a line, you can change its exact starting and ending points, or you can even make it dashed. And for a label, you are not stuck with boring static text. You can change its value, its font, its size, all on the fly. Just think about the possibilities here for a second. You could create a little drawing program where the user's mouse position is constantly updating the endpoints of a line in real time. Or maybe a game where the score label gets bigger and bolder as its value goes up. It's all about connecting what the user does to these specific properties. All right, time for another quick brain teaser. Let's say you create a text label and you set italic to true at the start. But then in your code, you also say to set italic to false every single time the mouse is clicked. So my question is, when is the label actually italic? The answer? Only for a split second, right at the very beginning. It starts out italic, but the moment you click, just once, that on-mouse press function kicks in, flips the property to false, and that's it. It stays that way forever. It's actually a great little reminder of how your code runs one step at a time. So far, we've been controlling individual shapes, but what about the biggest shape of them all? I'm talking about the canvas, the background itself. Turns out there's a super easy property for that. Let's look at app.background. This is honestly one of my favorite little shortcuts. The old way to make a background was to draw a giant rectangle that filled the whole screen. I mean, it works, but look how clunky that code is. The new way, the better way, it's just one beautiful clean line of code. App.background equals light green. So much simpler and way more direct.
And you're not just stuck with basic color names either. You can get really creative here. You can use specific RGB values to get that perfect shade of a color, or you can even set your background to a gradient. Imagine creating a day-to-night cycle in your program just by changing the background gradient every few seconds.
So we have covered a ton of ground here, right? We've gone from just drawing static shapes to having dynamic control over pretty much every element on the screen. Let's do a quick recap of the awesome creative toolkit you now have. You now know how to control the radius of circles, the points on polygons, and the roundness of stars. You can make lines dashed, you can change the value and font of your text, and you can command the entire canvas with app.background. These are your new creative building blocks. So what's the big takeaway here? You've got the tools, you've got the knowledge, you now have the power to start making static drawings and start creating things that are interactive and feel alive. So the only real question left is, what are you going to create first?